What is going on, all you beautiful people out there in YouTube land? Had to bring my guy Robin. We hadn't streamed in a while. I think last week I was on his channel and he said we got to do it again. And I figured, what the hell? Let's do it this Wednesday. So Rob, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, my friend. Thank you for having me back on the channel. I am thrilled to be here, sir.
I'm happy you are here. It's weird now that before when I wasn't working, it was so easy to just like, yeah, I could do this time. Yeah, I could do that time. Now it's like, oh no, I have to sleep. So
I have to get to bed at a reasonable hour.
Yeah, I'm back being an adult. I can't just do whatever. If I ever get to work from home, maybe, but that's not the case right now.
The work from home is the dream. That is absolutely the dream. I had the privilege of doing that long before it became the norm.
Yeah, everybody seems to want to do it, and I'm right there with them. So, real quickly, I just wanted to say thank you to you and to everybody who has been part of this journey. I am approaching 5K subs. I think I'm like 100 away. This wasn't part of what I sent you, but I just wanted to say thank you to anybody who's been in the chat, who's been here from jump. Guys like Carcast, who's in the chat right now, 49er Chanel, Chris Royal, Stunner Fillmore, all you guys have been here a really long time. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to guys like Rob, Jesse, Jackhammer, Jason Aponte, people I'm forgetting. I am so sorry. But it's been a really cool journey, man. Like I started this back in August of 2019. With no real expectations. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a kind of a negative guy, so I was thinking I might fall flat on my face. But you know, if somebody told me like, hey, you're not a scout, you're not a reporter, you're just a fan, and your YouTube channel is gonna get 5K subs maybe soon, I would totally have signed up for it. So I'm very, very happy, and I just want to say thank you to guys like you and everybody else who's been part of an awesome journey.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, that means a great deal, and just please let me say in return that I mean it honestly when I say it's a pleasure streaming with you, whether it's on my channel, on your channel. And I'm guessing that that's the case for those guys that you listed off that have collaborated with you, that you're a joy to interact with. Right. And I think that's what people are seeing as well, is that you wear your heart on your sleeve. You are someone who isn't full of, you know what, right? It's not BS. It is how you feel. It's the genuine article. You're very transparent on your channel, and I respect that as someone who also strives to be transparent and to put my real self out there, you know, in a PG-13 version of myself. I curse a hell of a lot more in real life, but
me too.
You know, I mean, it's been a hell of a journey, man. And you and I collaborated together for the first time a long time ago and have been fast friends ever since. So thank you for having me on. Thank you for being you. And thank you for putting yourself out there, man.
I appreciate that. And yeah, like I said, I have talked to you outside of YouTube. There's real lives behind us people, you know?
Yeah.
We go through real things, and it's cool that like you could meet people that are like-minded who also are going through real things. I think that makes it even easier when you know a little bit about somebody. I'm not saying you have to know everybody's business, but knowing a little bit about somebody, knowing what makes them tick, knowing if they're okay, not okay. And then like it makes for a collaboration of like realism. It's not just like as soon as I press end broadcast, you're like, all right, I'm out of here. You suck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're just like, hey, let's talk for 5 seconds or a minute or whatever. So
hell yeah.
I just want to say thanks to everybody, but I figure we get into my first topic. It's been something that's been beaten to hell, so we're not going to really get into the specifics, but I'm going to kind of take a different view on it. I'm not saying I side with one side or the other. All I'm going to say is, does Javon Kinlaw, now that all this has happened, whatever side of the argument you're on, I don't really care. Not you, meaning like the general audience.
Yeah, everybody watching. Everybody's got an opinion, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Does he have more to prove now that he's kind of put a gigantic target on his back, saying like, I know he got a little saucy last year with the media, same with Mostert about, guys saying, you're injury prone or this or that. Is there more pressure on him now to perform and just, like stop the talking and stop the immaturity and stuff, whether he felt he was in the right or not? Do you think it's time to put up or shut up?
I think there has to be more pressure on him right now, simply because of the fact that there's now a spotlight being shown upon him, whether that was intentional or whether these emotions just bubbled up to a point where he couldn't take it anymore. And I get that. Like, let me just say, without taking sides in this, without going any further into it, I understand what it means to get to a point where you don't think through your actions, right? You just respond because that's where you are emotionally. So I don't know that Javon Kinlaw did this with any intention. I don't think that he was like, you know what, let me cast a spotlight on myself because I believe I'm going to have this type of emergent season. But what I gather from him in his confidence, in his aggravation, in his tone that comes across is he does seem to believe that he's on the cusp of something special. He does seem to believe he's about to prove something to those people that have doubted him for a long time. And now he has that chance because the spotlight is pretty bright on him at this moment. There are going to be a lot of 49er faithful who, if he doesn't have a great season, are going to just pile on because they took some other side and believed he was in the wrong. I think he has an uphill battle this season.
And it's funny because I don't like talking about other content creators in a negative light on my streams.
Right.
Some people might do stuff like that on theirs. That's fine. I personally freaking think Grant is a grinder and like is super awesome. Do I agree with his side of the way he does things? Probably not. He's just different. He's just that's his style. He's kind of like, to me, it's like Jim Rome and other guys like that, but without maybe the national stage. Same kind of, maybe like the old school Jim Rome.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, people grind and they're doing good, and like YouTube's a big thing for them. And I'm one of those people, when someone is successful, even especially if they're more successful than me, I ain't a hater, man. I'm all about like, look at that. Like, look what he's doing. Just because I don't agree with somebody's method or the way they go about things, I will never hate on them just because maybe I'm not as successful. So I'm whatever, man. I'm all for people doing what they got to do. The situation was a little weird. It was like, it kind of made me uncomfortable watching all of it. I don't know. I was like, ugh. But hey, whatever. I feel like he's better for it, and I think he'll be successful going forward regardless.
I felt very uncomfortable watching that as well. That's actually how I described it. My father and my brother and I all have a group thread going, right? We're all diehard Niner fans. I've talked about the fact that, I've gone to a bunch of games with my dad, my brother growing up. Right? That was my exposure to the 49ers. And when I tried, my brother was like, what is everybody talking about? I haven't seen anything. I've been at work all day, and I had to break it down for him. And that's how I described it, as it was uncomfortable to watch that interaction when he jumped on with Grant. And I thought that I sensed Grant being uncomfortable in that interaction. And I do think at some point he decided it's better to try and just end this and get away from this dialogue, because it's not doing either one of us any good at this point, potentially doing real harm to Javon Kinlaw and his reputation and his potentially his career. I got to be honest that I wondered if there would be some type of repercussions that came out of that. And I'm glad that there weren't. Let me state that definitively, that I don't think there should have been. And I'm glad that there weren't, but it got contested, heated enough that you thought maybe there would be something out of it. I'm glad that whatever came of it, whether it truly got squashed or not, I am glad that it's over. I agree with you that I view Grant to be a casual friend on my part, that I don't know him all that well, but I know him well enough to view myself as a bit of a friend. And I certainly view him as a grinder, someone who has earned his position. And to your point, I don't agree with all of his takes. I didn't agree when some of the other players that came through that shall not be named also earn themselves nicknames or whatever. But we have to look at the entire community that surrounds YouTube and Grant and look at ourselves in the mirror, right? It's all the 50,000 individuals collectively that created this uncomfortable environment. I don't believe that it is attributable to one person alone.
My thing too is like, I'm all for freedom of speech, and I'm all for people being able to express themselves. And yeah, it was an uncomfortable situation. But at the end of the day, I would look at Grant and say, you know what, man, just keep grinding away. Use it as a learning experience, but don't change really who you are, because who you are is where it got you where you are. I mean, a lot of people have been on his platform, and I'm not saying necessarily like because of him, but like sometimes somebody opens a door and then somebody goes bursting through it, like you, for instance, and is just exploded on the scene. Of like, everybody knows who Rob Shue is. Like most good Niner fans who watch YouTube regularly, like we do, knows who Rob Shue is. So, I'm like I said, everybody has a different taste. Some people probably, unsubscribe to my channel just because I'm not really bashing them.
Right.
And I'm not really bashing Javon. I kind of just want everybody to be quiet now and go play. And we need him to be good this year. This is an important year for not only his career, but for the Niners.
Huge year for Javon. We're looking to replace DJ Jones, right? I mean, DJ MFing Jones.
Freaking
we are
Mr.
trying to
Barbecue
replace.
Sauce.
Mr. Barbecue Sauce.
Still there. I knew it.
Sauce. There it is. It is still there. I think it's expired now. It's now purely a prop.
Nice.
Yes. So, I mean, I definitely think he's got something to prove. The spotlight is on him. And maybe that's a perfect storm. Maybe that's really what he wanted. And maybe he'll be able to capitalize on that. He has the attention at this point. If he's able to put on tape what he seems to be confident he can, then this could end up being a positive. You could see both people learning from the experience. You could see both people growing from the experience, both getting additional exposure and potentially doing more positive things with that additional exposure, as opposed to focusing on the negative. I am not a believer in cancel culture, because cancel culture is quite frankly BS. It doesn't allow people to grow as human beings. And that's the whole purpose of life. If you ask me about it, it's to fail quickly, and then to get up, dust yourself off, and go do something more successful. Right. If we can't learn from our mistakes, then we can't do that.
And the thing that with cancel culture is now you're like, you have to really like watch everything you say you got to go back 10, 15, 20 years. I'm sure I said stuff in my early 20s that if somebody had if somebody had a voice recorder or a camcorder, I probably would have been canceled a couple times. Especially like maybe if you're out of a relationship and you're really mad at women, and you can say some really defiling things. Things that I would never say or believe in saying now. But so I don't believe in cancel culture either.
Nope.
One thing I would like to cancel is stupid national talking heads talking about the 49ers. I am sick and tired. Man, I can't wait to get to the season and the training camp. Whether it's Emmanuel Ocho or I'm trying to think. There's so many. What is your take on all? I mean, it is just I follow a lot of the guys from 49er Talk, Real Talk 49er. I know their name.
Real Talk Niner Talk.
Real Talk Niner Talk. My boy Sersky. He puts it out there sometimes on Twitter. But he's right, man. This is just getting ridiculous. There's just so much hate. I don't understand where this comes from. I had this conversation with Jackhammer. He says he thinks a lot of them just copy what other guys say.
Right.
If you listen to what they say, you could tell they don't watch games. No. You could tell they don't follow the team. It's like one guy is just piggybacking off of another guy.
Yes. And
they're trying to get that clickbait. They know they're going to get people to watch their YouTube channel. If ESPN has a YouTube channel, I don't know. Right. What is your take on all of it? Because I'm getting to the point now where it's like I don't even watch any of these networks at all, and I still see their trash somehow make their way onto my TV. I think the other one was Get Up, where they had the ex-Jets GM. Oh, I can't think of his name. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, he sucks, but I mean, he had something to say too, and it was like he doesn't watch the 49ers regularly. So what's your take on all that?
I think you hit on something that is definitely part of the truth, which is you can hear the echo of some of those things flowing through each of the criticisms, right? That it is people piggybacking off of something that they've heard, a little game of telephone, so to speak, right? And then they bring their own flair to it. And part of me gets it. Part of me understands that these people, from a national perspective, are attempting to cover the NFL in its entirety. I try to cover one team. And I have a considerable amount of time that I can devote to that at this point in my life and have done so for some time. I've invested myself in the 49ers, and I still find it challenging to really educate myself to the point where I can come across as a subject matter expert for the 49ers. If I were attempting to do that for 32 teams, I would fail miserably. And so I do appreciate that it's difficult to do, but I also get frustrated that you would then come forth with such conviction on something that you're not super well educated about, that you really don't know the full picture. You can't paint the full picture because you can't spend as much time as you need to dedicated to that one topic. You're putting your, toes in a bunch of different pools around the NFL. And that to me is very frustrating. I saw it again with Colin Cowherd. I talked about this quote on my show earlier tonight. He's coming out, right? First you hear, oh, there's not enough tape of Trey Lance. We haven't seen enough of him. And then you get Colin Cowherd coming out and saying that, well, it feels like the 49ers are selling me Trey Lance. They're trying to sell me on it. And anytime someone's trying to sell me on something, I'm very skeptical about it. And what you hear in a lot of these, some of them are very specific. Those are easier to debunk. But many of these are so broad that you can't refute them because they're not really saying anything. They're dancing around the topic and generating the clicks.
The Emmanuel Ocho one where he says he's called one play Trey. Who calls him that? Who's saying that?
Right?
Who? Give me names. I want names. They call him one play Trey. Man, I watched that. And then he had, Tannenbaum talking. He has no idea what he's talking about. It's not a surprise. I hate to be one of those kind of people, but it's not a surprise he's not in the NFL anymore. Just going to say, as my brother screams in the background, he's watching the Rangers right now, but
nice.
He's a New York Rangers fan. But yeah, man, there's just so much of it. And then I was watching, what was the one I was watching that really got me? It wasn't Colin Cowherd. It wasn't, who was it? Someone really stupid. They said something. If I had a shoe or something sharp, I would have thrown it at the television screen. But it's just a bunch of nonsense.
Yes.
I cannot think of who it is. There's so many of them.
You hear it everywhere you go. I mean, it seems as if most people have an opinion. And right now, the popular thing to do seems to be piling on in the negative, right? Doubting Trey Lance. You have the occasional good voice of reason of like, let the kid play. I heard Rich Eisen today talking about
that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Trey Lance season, right? And so that I'm on board with.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Rich Eisen. He seems like he gets it. I've always been a fan of him, actually, since he's been from ESPN. There's a lot of ESPN guys that I don't really like. Just not like on a personal level, just like just the way they do their
football takes.
Yeah, they just suck. But I've always liked Rich Eisen. He called Lance being drafted. Remember that?
Yeah.
Were you watching that? He was like, I'm thinking it's going to be Trey Lance. With his little voice that he does it, and he was right. It was Trey Lance.
Yes, it was.
That was probably one of the most nerve-wracking picks. Kind of, dude, until they announced it, I thought it was going to be Mac Jones.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, I was nervous.
Not
that it would be
because I
Mac
wanted
Jones.
him, but because everybody was going to be right. And when they said Trey Lance, I just remember my brother standing next to me, high-fiving me. He knew I did not want Mac Jones. Yes. And I'm not saying Mac Jones is a bum. I'm not saying Mac Jones isn't going to be good, but
no.
Listen, man, the Niners are into the new millennium now. It's time to. I want to see what the Niners can do with one of these, big arm mobile quarterbacks. So it's going to be interesting.
Me too. I was trying to find around my studio. It's a little bit of a mess, so I couldn't find my envelope. But I had in one of my joke videos that was all my channel was back at whenever I launched it right before the draft last year. The first video I ever put out at the end was me pulling out of the envelope. It is Trey Lance with the pick. And so I called that one as well. And I thought just because of the athleticism that the Niners were finally going in that direction where they would have a mobile dual threat quarterback.
Willie Rodriguez says all those analysts are idiots. That's why I stopped watching all those NFL shows and turned to you guys. You guys are the best and speak better than those idiots. Thank you. And I don't make any salary. So I appreciate that. Those guys get paid lots and lots of greenbacks to suck at their job. So, Aztec says, but Jimmy's still currently QB1. I think, well, again, Rich Eisen said it best. The only reason he's QB1 is because he was hurt when they wanted to trade him, or he had just had surgery.
Yes.
That's the only reason.
Only reason.
No more conspiracy theories. It's not because they don't fully trust Trey Lance. You could see everybody in that building, the way everything is being presented to you now, especially from the 49ers, the website, and just anything now. I'm getting like, it's a different feeling than last year. Last year it was like, yeah, Trey's good, but it's still Jimmy's team. He's gonna have to win it outright. He's gonna have to take it from Jimmy.
Right.
I don't get any of that this year.
No.
I get it's Trey's team, and Jimmy eventually will be gone. He said it himself that it's just a matter of time before Jimmy's traded. So, man, I'm excited. I'm nervous. That what's coming. I know he's going to have some struggles. It's a given.
It seems like a given.
Yeah. So but at the same time, for a guy that's usually super negative, I have not been more positive about what the Niners could be doing this year if they can just stay healthy. And 49er minded said it best. Jimmy who?
Yes. It seems as if even in the charade that the 49ers are playing of, oh, well, maybe we'll keep Jimmy around, right, to entice teams to actually trade for him and not wait until he's cut. Even that language seems to have shifted as of recent. I get a very clear sense that the 49ers are giving the reins to Trey Lance, and it's about time. I mean, I do wish that it had happened earlier in this offseason, not because of the development for Trey Lance. I get that it would be easy to pull Trey aside and let him know. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, whomever wants to have that conversation can pull Trey Lance into the room and say, hey, listen, we've got to play this little game. We're trying to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. We have to act as if we want to keep him so that teams are willing to give up assets in return. Otherwise, if they know we're going to cut him, they'll just wait until we do. But at some point, it became clear that market was misjudged. The 49ers misplayed it, whatever happened at that point, and Jimmy's left on the roster because of that surgery, right? Now, I think it's about time that they did change the language. If they hadn't, I'd be worried that it would have a negative impact on Trey, but they have. And what you're hearing out of the organization leaves me with comfort that Trey knows it's his team. The team knows it's Trey's team. Let's fricking go.
There was a report from Albert Breer saying that the Jimmy's camp would definitely work with maybe adjusting his salary cap, his salary cap hit to make it more manageable or feasible or palatable, I guess, for the team that would be taking him on. They say the Niners still could be an option. I don't think that's the case. I think the Niners, if they're going to do right by Trey, they need to cut the cord, so to speak, and the era of Jimmy. I mean, he did well when he, as well as he could for the talent and the ability that he has, but you don't spend all that draft capital just to maybe move on eventually someday. No, it's like, okay, it's time to go. Rip the Band-Aid off, send him on his way. Thank you very much. See you later. So
I totally agree. I mean, to me, this is definitely a situation where, Jimmy's camp is coming out. They're starting to see the writing on the wall that if they do not shift the language a little bit and the dominoes fall in a certain way, Jimmy could be without a starting job. He could be without a clear backup job, right? And so I think they had to massage that language to let teams know they are willing to negotiate. I don't think that's going to be the 49ers that end up negotiating with him, although certainly that's better than keeping him on the roster at his full schedule, full salary. I still think for the sanity of this team, you're better off just going forward with Trey and Nate Sudfeld.
I agree. Just want to say thank you to Chris Royal for the $5 super chat. He says, Trey is who I wanted in the entire time. Loved watching his film. He will be great. Keep kicking ass, Aaron. Thanks for the content, guys. Appreciate that, Chris Royal. He's another one of the old faithful that's been watching my channel a long time. So thank you,
sir.
Chris. Just wanted to say I'm approaching 5K subs, and you've been one of my staunchest supporters that entire time. So thank you for being with me on this journey, just like Rob. And hopefully you stay around until I hit maybe 10K. I don't know if we're all still alive, right?
Yes. Hey, this season, that's when that's happening.
Exactly. I hope. One thing too, I mean, we could talk about Trey and, you know, I guess maybe not what the media's perception is on the outside, but just what the Niners are kind of giving us and the vibe you're getting. My question is this Trey Lance's team finally, and how impressed are you with his professionalism? Because that press conference where he was like super respectful, but it's pretty much he was saying people can kick rocks. I don't care what they think. To
Yeah.
me, he's done nothing but impress me at all points, at all turns. What's your take on that?
My confidence is up after that presser, because that was really the first taste of Trey as the leader of this team. Trey coming in and owning that room. And I did get a sense that it was an increased level of comfort, an increased level of assuredness, of confidence. And it was backed up by the statement of Jimmy Ward saying just as much, that what's the difference you see between Trey Lance last year and Trey Lance this year? And he came to the podium and said confidence. He is a much more confident guy. That goes a long ways when it comes to leadership. Simply being able to stand up there, proud, confident, in control of the situation, that sends a message to the rest of the locker room. And in particular, it sends a message coming from a dude who's the youngest freaking quarterback in the NFL, even though he's in his second year and there are a fresh batch of rookies coming in to play quarterback. So yes, I'm very impressed with the level of leadership that I see from a young gentleman like Trey Lance. It gives you optimism of where he can take this locker room. We gave Jimmy Garoppolo a lot of credit for being a good leader. I think it's high time that we lump that same praise on Trey Lance. My hope is we'll hear more and more from the guys in the locker room that that's exactly what they're seeing as well.
A lot of people who I guess have been around camp have been really impressed how he's been looking lately. I haven't listened too much to Jackhammer in the last couple of days, but I don't like really taking off of other people's channels and be like, hey, this is what I've heard. No, but a lot of people are impressed. They think he's, maybe his mechanics have changed. They know there's people that keep a tally on stats, which I think is kind of weird.
Yeah,
that you keep training camps or OTA stats without
unofficial OTA stats,
pass rush and helmets. But it is what it is. There's a lot of positive coming out of it, so that's really good for me. Chris Royal, thanks again. $2 super chat. He says, I'll be here and been my pleasure. Appreciate that. Mr. Aztec MC says, how is Trey a mystery? We saw him play last year and he was good. Yeah, it's because those idiots don't watch. You could tell that they don't watch. All you got to do is listen to a lot of these talking heads, and you could tell that they pretty much were handed, like as Jackhammer says, they're handed a script. Here you go. Say this stupid crap. We're going to get a ton of hits on the website because we're all idiots, and it works. And we're talking about it. So
that's the key.
If they're doing their job, there's people out there that like I said, Jim Rome back in the day, he was that dude that will like kind of push the envelope, maybe in the direction we didn't want to do it. But hey, look at him now. I mean, like, it is what it is. But in the other sense, when you have reputable channels or ESPN, NFL Network, or Fox talking gibberish like this, I don't watch TV much anymore. I really don't. I watch, like I said, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm watching the Obi-Wan series. I'm watching Stranger Things. I watch Cobra Kai. Like that's my television watching. So
yes, I'm a few episodes into Stranger Things right now. I won't give any spoilers, nor do I expect any
it's crazy.
in return. It is definitely good. I've been with that series since the jump. What I love most about that series, not to take us off of the Niners here, but growing up in the 80s, I love seeing the pop culture references.
The roller skating.
Me back.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh, my Lord. Another. You guys are awesome. Everybody's so giving tonight. Great Tom Ocean, another one who's been here for a long time. Been here since around 300 subs. Yes, he has. Thanks for all the great content and great guests. Thank you. Everybody, I love all you guys. Oh, my God. I feel special. I didn't do this to get a bunch of super chats, but I was just expressing my gratitude. But if, whatever, if it happens, then thank you.
Hey, man, hey, you took a turn to express your gratitude, and that gives other people the opportunity to express their gratitude.
That's true. You're right. I appreciate it very, very much. I guess one of the things we could get into now is with training camp. It'll be here before you know it. Are you of the mindset that we're going to have a situation where Deebo's contract will be pretty much done on the eve of training camp? Are you hopeful? I mean, how are you feeling? I'm kind of in the mindset that that's what's going to be. I hope. How are you thinking about that?
I believe it will. I hope it will. I'm basing it more on hope at this point because I have no inside information, right? But it would make sense. The Niners flubbed this thing at the beginning. They let it get emotional, and it may not have been their fault. It may just have been Deebo reacting to something that happened. Maybe it wasn't the 49ers bad. Maybe they didn't step on his toes in the process. But my guess is in some way, somehow, they offended him through one of their offers. They have now mended the fence, it would appear. The two sides seem to be talking. Not heard anything negative coming out of Deebo. So, yes, I would expect the 49ers that they want Deebo Samuel to be actively involved in all of training camp. And the only way in which to ensure that happens is to get him paid prior to the start of it. So we have the mandatory mini camps coming up, which I believe that Deebo may be in attendance, but if his contract isn't done by then, I don't think he steps on the field. I'll be honest. If I were Deebo, I would not risk my health and all that guaranteed money just to step on the field and practice things that I've been practicing for the last 3 years. I would wait until the ink is dried on that dotted line, and then I would show up full force. I'm sure that he is training, keeping himself prepared right now. He's a professional. He is always, posting videos of the types of workouts he's done in the past. My assumption is that is continuing. You see references to places he's going to train. I would think that he is keeping himself in tip-top condition. I'd wait until that thing is signed before I'm back out there for the 49ers, just in case.
Yeah, there's no way for what they ask him to do and for the physicality he plays with.
Yeah.
You'd be an idiot to go step on the field without a new contract. So I'm all for people getting their money. I've never had any issue with him with anything that has happened. The scrubbing of the social media, that's just the way they do things now. That's how these youngsters, that's 2020s. I mean, this isn't the 1980s anymore. You know what I mean? Now people have ways of getting more money. People have ways of, if a team's really, really desperate to sign him, they have ways of maybe manipulating the narrative, I guess. But I'm all for a guy getting his money. I know he's only had one super productive year, but let's be honest. He's been fantastic since they drafted him. It's just been a matter of health. This offense won't be the offense to get to a championship or get us a championship without him. We need him.
Right.
We need everybody. We need Kittle. I want to see Kittle reemerge. I feel like Kittle's been kind of an afterthought, at least last year. And I want to see the old Kittle. No more hospital balls.
I get the sense he wants to see that too. Like the way he talks now, there's a little bit of animosity beneath it, as if he's aggravated that he's not been able to put the George Kittle he knows on film as well. I believe he's got something to prove. I want to see that attitude, matriculate its way out onto the field.
Definitely. The camper report, you might have been in this chat. I might have seen your name, but it seems like you must have a YouTube channel.
He does. I am going on the camper report after this program.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, Mr. Camperman. Thank you for jumping in here and saying hi to me and Rob before you and Rob take it over at the top of the hour. I think I've seen him in here before. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. But thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. So I'm thinking. I lost my train of thought for a second. Offensive line. There was a report that came out today. I made a quick little video about it because I thought it was intriguing. They were talking about Aaron Banks. They were talking about his body and how he's transformed. And I remember talking about this last year. I had live streams, videos I made. My personal thought was maybe he came in not in ready to play NFL shape. Maybe he was a chubby college kid because he did look kind of soft last year.
He did.
And sure enough, there's a report saying from Matt Barrows that his body fat content is lower. He's more muscular. He's got better stamina. And that he wouldn't have beat out Lakin last year anyways. So Between that and the rest of the offensive line, I have a lot of questions. First, let's talk about Aaron Banks. So what's your take on all that report? I don't know if you've heard about it.
I have. I've seen a bunch of people talking about it, that he managed to stay at 330, which is a phenomenal playing weight. I mean, that's like Larry Allen freaking playing weight.
Yeah.
And it's easy to see that, like, in college, just being a man of that girth, a man who carries 330 pounds, you're probably able to push around other college athletes because you outweigh them by a fair clip. When you get to the NFL, you may have defenders that are lighter than you, that are stronger than you. They have been in the NFL weight room. So it does make sense to me that he would need to reshape himself, that he would need to lean down, build up the muscle. What I find to be so compelling is maintaining his weight and shifting that fat to muscle, becoming a leaner individual, but still being a Goliath on the offensive line and shifting back to his natural left guard position. Even had he reshaped his body prior to coming into last season, let's be honest, he's not beating out Laken Tomlinson for that left guard spot. That was never happening. Laken Tomlinson deserved the pay that he got in his contract this offseason because he's a stud at the left guard spot. It'll be interesting to see him not next to Trent Williams. I agree. That's an added advantage to have Joe Staley and then Trent Williams on your left side. No doubt about it. But I give Laken Tomlinson his due. So it really was about beating out Daniel Brunskill. But now you're talking about a transition from the left side to the right side, reversing everything that you've been doing in your head for the past, 3 or 4 years at Notre Dame. That was a tough ass as well, because he was attempting to learn the playbook simultaneously and flip everything to the other side. This year, I feel pretty confident about Aaron Banks. Talking about him specifically coming in and owning that left guard position, I see this as a scenario where it is very much Aaron Banks's job to lose, that he will come in as the heavy favorite to lock down that left guard spot. And it makes you feel as if this was an intentional act by the 49ers, drafting Aaron Banks last year to replace Laken Tomlinson this year. It seems set up to happen pretty smoothly.
Yeah, it seemed almost like the Niners were redshirting, and they've done this before with certain players. And I know that's kind of weird in the NFL. I've like I said, I've heard Grant not necessarily be a fan of it. You should draft people to want to have them play right away. Maybe you sometimes haven't. I think he made a comment. He said that maybe sometimes you have a feeling that your roster may be better than what it is, and so you draft that way. And sometimes, some people look at it as like, you don't have that luxury. You can't draft like that. You should draft for that particular season, not down the road. But listen, as critical as I've been of John Lynch and Kyle for some of the things that they've done and deals that they've given out, like D Ford, there's things that they've done with the way that they've managed this roster and finessed this roster to be one of the best rosters in the NFL. Honestly, right now, healthy. This is one of the deepest. And I mean, the Niners deserve to be in the conversation for this, for a playoff run or a Super Bowl. They might not win it this year just because of Trey's inexperience. And there's teams that have, I don't know, this guy named like Brady and this guy named Rodgers and stuff, but
those guys are decent.
They're all right. They're all right.
All right.
They all right. But the fact of the matter is, this team is really, really good and they're poised. And the Niners, they just, it's like, it kind of how they did it in the 80s. And I brought this up to Jackhammer. I said, they get rid of guys a little bit early before they're not able to play anymore. And they plug in with a guy. And eventually when it's that guy's time to play, the guy fits right in and it's like a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
You just replace a cog and it's ready to go. So hopefully that's the case with Aaron Banks. I'm really pulling for him. Just like I'm pulling for Trey Sermon this year, even though they kind of drafted his replacement. I don't know.
Right.
But we'll see. I mean, we have a long time to go. And 49er minded, Bashar's making fun of us talking like that.
He's chiming in. He wants to be a part of it. Bashar's in on it. He's not clowning.
I used to talk like that back in the day. And then I grew up. Yeah. What up, yo? I still say word a lot. So
hella is still in my vocabulary. I'm a NorCal guy through and through. So hella skips. Every time I hear Eric Crocker say hella, I'm like, Come on, Stockton. Bring it back.
Absolutely.
Bring it back. So to your point, though, I do think that the Niners balance those two strategies, right? You have to look at what am I investing in the team for now, and how am I building a sustainable team for the future? And it is fair to criticize the move of drafting Aaron Banks last year in thinking that the Niners made it to within a couple of plays of reaching the Super Bowl. So it is fair to say, this is hindsight being 2020 here and rewriting history a bit. It's fair to say, well, what if the Niners had invested that second round pick into somebody who had contributed last year? Would that have been the pick that got them over the hump and they won a Lombardi? That's a fair criticism. But at the same time, you then have to look at balancing that criticism against the reality right now, where you are replacing a Pro Bowl left guard with someone who may step in and be very capable at that position. If you're able to move those chess pieces around in that way, is it fair to then criticize the pick last year if it benefits this team, and if this team ends up going somewhere special, or if in the next couple of years they end up getting that sixth Lombardi? So it's a balancing act. And I think it's that nuance that has to be brought to the conversation, whether you're being critical of the pick of Aaron Banks or, looking at it as a wise future investment.
Real quick question, Rob, are you pro Warriors?
Oh, Bashar, you're trying to get me in trouble. So here's how it works. I was born outside of Boston, Massachusetts, like 15 minutes outside of Boston. Lived there for the first 8 years. So a very warm spot in my heart for the Boston Celtics and Larry Bird and those teams of the 80s. No doubt about it. I stuck with the Celtics as my basketball team when we arrived in the Bay Area. Never really picked up on the Warriors, and then sort of got away from basketball altogether. Moved to Portland and warmed up to the Trail Blazers. I have to say they're my favorite NBA team. Between the Celtics and the Warriors, I don't know who I'm rooting for. It's not clear cut for me. I want it to go to Game 7, and then I will pick who I'm rooting for in Game 7. I'm sorry that's dodging the question there, Bashar.
Not the sexy pick, but at least he answered your question.
I am honest.
Real quick on the offensive line, what's your opinion on Alex Mack? Do you think he's retiring? I just have a feeling he is. He has taken so long to respond.
It's my nightmare, Aaron. Like, what's going on? Why are we waiting, dude? What are we waiting for at this point, Aaron? Seriously, what is it?
I don't understand that. Again, we just gave them a bunch of compliments, front office. This is one of those. Why?
Yeah.
Let him retire.
Hey, John, be nice to my sanity and tell me what's going on with Alex frickin' Mack.
Yeah, I'm sick of
this. This June 1st, I didn't buy into June 1st being a date that would trigger an announcement, but it certainly was a date that had some meaning to it, right? This is the June 1st cutoff for some of these contractual things where post June 1st, you can kick down a part of the dead salary to the following season. And so it allows the 49ers to eat less dead money right now, get a little bit additional off of the books. So there was a chance that we got an announcement. There was an announcement of a Steelers defensive lineman today logging his retirement. It didn't seem to be, correlated to the June 1st date, but I had to keep my mind open to the fact that June 1st may be an important date. I go the other way with this. I can see going to the negative, being pessimistic about why haven't we heard anything? Let's just assume that we're going to lose Alex Mack. I'm looking at it as no news being good news.
Right.
The further this thing goes, the more likely I believe it is that eventually we get the, Alex will be back announcement. He just needed some time to think it over. But I'm genuine in saying I do not understand why we haven't just announced it one way or the other at this point. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, definitely one of those head scratchers where, as much as I'm pro John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, I would say 85% of the time, this is definitely in that 15 percentile where It's just like, guys, what are you doing, man?
Yeah,
Let's go.
Come on.
Speaking of, well, I guess that's not really, okay. Anyways, so here's something a vibe that I've gotten from watching, again, 49ers, related content from their website, stuff they like to leak online, things from other content creators who maybe know more than I do. It seems to me that Talanoa Funga is the man it seems like it's his job to lose at safety. Do you get that same vibe?
I get that exact Same vibe. The way in which D'Amico Ryan spoke about him today, the way in which you have heard Jimmy Ward talk about his confidence, his ability to communicate back there, it very much feels to me as if Hufanga, it's his job to lose at this point. And let's be honest, one of the criticisms that I had of the front office in all of their moves this offseason, whether it be through the draft, free agency, was they did not target ball hawks. 49ers have struggled turning the ball over, right? They have struggled generating turnovers on defense. And for a team that gets as many sacks as they do, it seems wild to me. Like, you are creating pressure, you're creating errant throws that should produce some gimmies, some balls that are just lobbed up there for us to grab. And I know there's one in particular everyone's thinking of right now as I say that could have been grabbed. But then I look back at Hufanga and his college statistics. Someone asked me a mailbag question this week that led me back to his stats at USC. And that final season at USC, Hufanga, 4 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles. So did they go out and get a ball hawk this offseason? No. And I voiced my criticism as such. Maybe they believe they had one on the team the entire time, that it was Hufanga's role to step into, that he is a ball hawk. He found the ball over there and pulled it into the end zone against Green Bay, right? I mean, he does seem to have a nose for the action. I am excited to see how this thing goes. Really, it's about seeing him in live action, to see about the angles, to see about the speed and coverage, to see if he can keep things in front of him.
My whole issue with him is he seemed like a liability in the pass game.
Right.
Anything close to the line of scrimmage, he seems like it's great. Anything that gets behind him, it seems like he struggles with. But, maybe it's just inexperience, lack of reps. Maybe being around a guy like Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward said best duo in that little clip that they showed. He said they were the best duo. So Jimmy Ward, he's been in the league a long time. I'm a big Jimmy Ward guy. I wasn't always. I thought he was another one of those Mr. Glass players that's always hurt. But
in fairness, he was to start his career.
He's definitely changed that narrative and changed that whole situation. So I got nothing but respect for Jimmy Ward.
Amen.
Speaking of, Hufanga and guys that are on the come up of, I guess, players of positions you are watching going into training camp. Is there a player that has piqued your interest? Or is there a position group that is just like something you want to see into camp? Just anything. It could be one guy, it could be 3 guys, it could be a whole group.
I honestly, like, my list is pretty long here. And that's just kind of being a diehard Niner fan. Like, I'm a little crazy like that. I want to see them all out there. But there are the positions where I thought the 49ers not failed, because that's harsh. That's hyperbole, perhaps. That's exaggeration. But I felt that they came up short in addressing them. Specifically on defense, that would have been the nickel corner position, and that would have been the safety spot. And I thought there was going to be a pretty ferocious battle for both of those spots throughout camp. So I was going to have my eye on them. It turns out it doesn't seem that's going to be the case. I'll still have my eye on Talanoa Hufanga to see him earn that spot, but it feels as though it's his to lose. And then Darqueze Dennard out of nowhere with the nickel corner reps. Like, I'm still going to watch it, but it seems to be, dare I say, somewhat settled in that regard, that it may be, again, his spot to lose. And, I'll be honest that when we brought him on board, I did not realize that he was an first round pick, that he was, Jack has been saying this consistently, that he was drafted ahead of Jimmy Ward in the same draft. He was drafted ahead of Jason Verrett in the same draft. So there's potential there. Like, there was a reason he was drafted where he was. Maybe it was untapped, and I would love to see a reclamation story like that. So those went from position groups that I was really heavy on, that I wanted to keep my eye on, to ones that, like, I'm still going to be watching, but it doesn't feel as intense. So let me give you a couple of the names that jump out to me from the undrafted free agent list. This to me is like, can they make the roster? Will they crack into these squads? Because I see an interesting scenario at both the running back room where it does feel as if you're pretty settled with TDP, right? The new draft pick.
Yeah, you know me. Sorry, I had to.
Elijah Mitchell, he's not going anywhere.
No.
Trey Sermon, you don't invest a third rounder in him and then give up so quick, do you?
Agreed.
I don't think so. You
No.
might, but I don't think so. And then I thought, well, Jeff Wilson Jr. seems like the last lock there. I thought he would beat out JaMychal Hasty. Now, when I hear Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat, who called out Elijah Mitchell as jumping off the tape last offseason about this time, now talking about Jordan Mason out of Georgia Tech, I got my eye there. That's an exciting one. And it's one that the 49ers are known for their ability to find these diamonds in the rough. So it will become a contested choice at the end, building the 53-man roster. Did he perform well enough to beat out Jeff Wilson Jr. or JaMychal Hasty? And if he didn't, are you willing to risk him being poached from the waiver system while trying to sneak him onto the practice squad? Because there's some team out there watching the 49ers saying any running back that doesn't make that team, I'm bringing him in here. And maybe it's Mike McDaniel in Miami wanting to bring in somebody that didn't make the cut in San Francisco. So that's definitely one of them that I have my eyes on, and an exciting one, admittedly.
Yeah, safety and slot corner are kind of my de facto position groups. Offensive line, of course. I want to see how it solidifies. And then who's the receivers after Ayuk, Deebo,
Javon
Jennings, and is it going to be the rookie? Is he going to make it in
Danny
there?
Gray.
Is Danny Gray going to do it? Is it going to be Juju? Juju, yeah,
close enough. Ray,
Juju, whatever. It's all the same.
Yeah, ex-Steeler with the double name.
I just want to see. I feel like the Niners they just have so much ability to they have so much depth at so many positions. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a hard cut down at the end of training camp for sure this year.
Real hard. Oh. I think that those 5 receivers to me are a lock, and I'm looking to see if the Niners carry 6, which I think has been historically the number that they tend to go with within the Shanahan-Lynch era. And I got my eye on Larry Krueger has put out there the idea of Tay Martin out of Oklahoma State being a wide receiver to watch.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he said that right after the draft. You were right. Yep.
He's an insightful dude, and I want to see if he's right about it. So that was the other guy I was going to throw in there as a body that I'm going to watch. The O-line thing to me is like just sort of craziness at this point. Like until we get more information about Mac coming back, about McGlinchey's readiness, it could look so different from one scenario to the next that I'm hesitant to get into too much speculation about what that O-line will actually be constructed of. I feel good about the depth, though. Like I'm not confident who those starters would be if Mac retires and McGlinchey isn't ready, but like I feel pretty good about the depth and that we would make it through piecemeal until it's solidified. The Mac one is the biggest question mark for sure.
Ken Martin says Malik Turner is beating out Tay Martin.
That seems to be who's in the league in the lead right now.
So as we wind this bad boy down to the top of the hour, I have a couple little quick things that I added on after I talked to you yesterday.
Nice.
And one of them was the Lance stat predictions. I forgot who posted it. I'm going to put it up on screen, guys. I think it's going to block our faces, but whatever. Here it is.
We're not that pretty anyways, Aaron.
Right. So the 2022 season projections, I don't know if this is from PFF or from the draft net. I forgot.
I think it's that latter one, the draft network.
So they got him throwing for almost 4,000 yards, 28 passing touchdowns, 706 rushing yards, 3 rushing TDs, and 14 interceptions. That's a fair statistical line. I hope the interceptions aren't that high. I wouldn't be surprised if they were, but if that's what I got from a first-year starter who only played one real year of college football, I would take it. What about you?
I would be thrilled with that stat line. 2-to-1 or better with a TD to interception ratio for Trey this season. I'll be thrilled. Anything north of say 62% completion percentage, I will be thrilled. Anything at or above sort of what Jimmy was giving us from a yardage standpoint, where, Jimmy's best statistical season was slightly below that. He came very close to 4,000 yards twice, once last year and once in 2019. If Trey gets that close to throwing for 4,000 yards and then adds on 700 rushing yards, I mean, that's nearly 20% more offense than we were having with Jimmy Garoppolo in what he generated. I have a hard time believing in 700 rushing yards that he would only amass 3 rushing touchdowns out of that scenario. I feel like he's going to be a red zone threat in that regard. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they go with one of the bigger bodied backs, whether it's using Deebo in there or using Ty Davis Price, because he's going to be rolling at 221 or 230 or whatever the heck that bowling ball is going to be rolling along at. But that would be a phenomenal season. I think if that came to fruition with the defense that I see, admittedly on paper, not looking at what the actual injuries may be, I would see that as the 49ers potentially winning the NFC West, being like the 2 seed in that scenario, and potentially going like 13-4.
That would be an outstanding season.
Yes, it would.
Don't know if that's going to happen just because of how difficult their schedule is, but you never know if Trey's that good and the defense is that good. And it, to me, it's Rob, it's health. All I keep thinking about is health.
Yes.
That's all that really matters to me. Another thing I wanted to pop up on screen real fast before we get out of here. This is definitely going to cover our faces. Again, no big loss. At least,
hey, as long as you get the voices and those twin Shure SM7Bs coming through, that's all you need.
Yeah, we got that majestic. Well, you got your majestic voice, and then we have my Howard Stern / Kermit the Frog kind of moves. So it's all good.
Two guys that have crushed it in this world, let me say. Howard Stern and Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, Kermit's the man. He freaking landed Miss Piggy. So, like, dude, I got nothing but respect for him.
Kermit is rolling.
Here's another one. This was I forget who put this up. It's kind of like a, power rankings.
Right.
I did not agree with this. I added a little bit of stuff onto it because it was just a little thing down the middle. It's Sam Monson's top 10 power rankings. I think it's from PFF. Bills, Bucks, Rams, Chiefs. I totally agree with that.
Yes.
This is where you lose me. Chargers, Packers, Broncos, Bengals. I think the Niners should be ahead of all those. The Niners should be at number 5. And then I think the Bengals maybe after, and then whatever you want to go after that. Maybe the Packers, Bengals in whatever order after the 49ers, and then whatever the last 2. What's your take on that? I 9th, really? I don't understand that at all.
I definitely have to move the Niners up there. I will say that I would probably struggle. I agree with you. 1 through 4 feel like a lock there. I would struggle whether to put the Niners 5th or 6th there. I do have to say that coming up on the Camper Report, one of the questions that we're going to be covering is talking about some of those AFC West matchups and talking about some of the potential nightmare scenario matchups for the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
And the more I consider that, the more I am looking at the schedule at that Chargers game and really zeroing in on it. When I see Joey Bosa and Alex Mack, and then an offensive line that have where it's unsettled. I'm not worried about Trent Williams. He's going to hold down the left side, no doubt about it. But on the right side, if it's not McGlinchey, or if it is McGlinchey and whoever is next to him at right guard is struggling with that position, it could be tough for the 49ers. So either 5th or 6th, I'm putting them ahead of the Bengals and the Packers, who they both beat last year and who I don't feel like added a whole hell of a lot this offseason. So, yeah, I would say that that's a little bit of disrespect for the Niners.
Definitely. No border sports. Ryan says Kermit must have been hella baked to deal with high-strung Miss Piggy all the time. That's great. Oh, I love Ryan. Ryan and Bashar and Beto were working on something.
Nice.
It's been a while. Different incarnations. We're trying to do like some sort of weekly, bi-weekly, tri-weekly, whatever. Trying to get something going. Hopefully, maybe Mondays. I don't know. It's hard, man. There's a lot of people involved, and people have different schedules. And we're trying to get the intros and the backgrounds and all that stuff. So definitely be on the lookout for that, everybody. I'll definitely post something about it when I know more. Last little bit, and then I'll let you go. Madden made the Madden cover. as we pay respect to the man who, to me, was the voice of football for my generation. I know for your generation as well. He actually made the cover of Madden. I don't really play Madden anymore because the game's trash, but
Yes.
I thought that was pretty cool. I don't think anybody should have made it this year other than him after he passed away last year. Any thoughts on that real quick?
I am in lockstep with you. By the way, though, I do have to acknowledge Sean correctly called out. I got Alex Mack on the brain. I meant to say Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa on the bookends there talking about the Chargers. Yeah, I got Alex Mack. I just can't until I know what's going on with him. I'm going to think Alex Mack. Talking about Madden, I mean, the role that he played for me in becoming a fan of football, in playing Madden, I mean, it was a huge role. I remember those game calls by he and Pat Summerall very fondly. I know there were people out there that found his rambling sort of way of describing things to be, I don't know, some way negative. I did not. I loved it. I absolutely adored his turducken stories. Like, he took me on journeys with him. That's what I want from my announcers. I want to feel like I'm a part of it. I want to be enthralled by whatever it is you're talking about. I want to see some passion in you. And I thought that he spoke with that passion. He very clearly loved the game of football. And to me, it came across in the way he spoke about it. It came across in his voice. It even came across in his freaking game. And I spent a lot of college hours not in class, but instead playing Madden football. So I heard that voice a lot.
To me, Madden could be summed up in one word or one sentence, is when they zoomed to the sky during a Monday night game and there was a full moon, and he goes, "You believe the cow jumped over that thing?" And that was and I remember my mom, like, I told her about it even to this day. Dude, that was the funniest thing I have ever heard because it had nothing to do with the game. And he asked if you believe if a cow jumped over that thing. That's, to me, that was great. To me, he was a big Joe Montana fan till Tom Brady came around. You know, say what you want about Tom. I'm still a Montana guy, but yeah, he always said Montana was the greatest quarterback he's ever seen. You know, I'm sure now if number 16 for life. If I ever got one tattoo in my crazy 20s, I might have got a Montana tattoo, but
yes,
those days are long gone. And I think that's kind of weird to have another guy's number or name tattooed on you. But anyways, but yeah, that was just a part of my childhood. I remember me and my friend used to buy the game and game plan. We'd have like a 15 script play. We'd each play our franchise games on his.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I would script like I usually threw the ball like 13 times and ran it twice, but he did the same thing. He was a Bills fan, but we watched John Madden. We thought he was hilarious. And so that was a part of my youth. Even in my 40s now, hopefully Madden one day I'll make a game worth buying over again. But
yeah, every now and then I buy one just for old time's sake, and I'm usually disappointed.
Yeah, it's pretty much just like, hey, look, a roster update. But Rob, awesome. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
You've been a busy guy today, and you're going to be even busier after this, going on Mr. Camperman's YouTube channel. So I just want to say thank you to everybody in the chat. Thanks for the super chats. Thank you for the participation. I don't really usually stream as much recently, just because it's kind of that weird time of the off season. Once training camp hits, once the season hits, I'll be as regular as I can be. So thank you, everyone, for coming. Rob, thank you so much for making time in your busy YouTube day. And till next time, everybody. Oh, and Rohan, thank you very much, my man. I love this dude. Till next time, everybody, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you on the flip side. Take care.